great to see you. Great to have you back on the show. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to play the first video to sort of, it asks a question and shows you a few things what I did, and we can talk over while it plays. I think.
Can we?
Oh
okay.
yeah, that's kind of neat.
We could have done that with the talking dogs too, but that's going to have to be another
can
day.
you play the number one? Yeah. Okay, so for this one, is sort of a comic book story. The idea is the city's a giant gear, and it's filled with all these faceless kind of people. And the questions that I'm asking is like, who are all these people, and what is the city, and what are the things that I did to it in order to understand this better? Is I went out into the streets and into the public and started doing a lot of performances. I think it's much more fun to watch than me talk.
It's great. Yeah, we can make faces. We don't have to look so cool.
So yeah, first things I did in public were these murals. So I used to go out and I started painting all these murals, and this was after I'd done a couple gallery shows. I'd been at the college, and I really wanted to communicate with people who weren't in the art scene, and that was a big deal to me. So most of these murals in the beginning were renegade murals. I would go out in the middle of the night and grab a can of paint and just make them, and I think there'll be there's one of those.
Where's that one?
That's out on Queen Street West, the side of a poor store owner's building there.
Is it still there, that one?
No, he would paint over anything that happened there pretty quickly. In the earlier days I did that. I don't do that anymore. Those were my earliest street performances, and at that time I just had a knapsack with some pins and cardboard sketches, and that's where I really got to start talking to people. Yeah, and you can see the display growing as the time goes by on there. So as the better I got at it and the more I communicated with people, the more the art grew as well. And also these kind of blank faces in the beginning start to become characters, and that happened from constantly conversing with people on the streets. And that one's duct taped to the front of the store. That's when they started to get to be about 12 by 15 feet. And then this guy Chris Bell hired me to do the side of his house.
Where's that?
That's at Queen and Bathurst, Wolseley Street, one street north of Queen and Bathurst.
Still there, that one?
That one's permanent, and nobody messes with that. And then just as time went on, it got busier and busier and more fun. And you see that in the pictures there.
Where's
too.
that one? Oh,
that's at the outdoor art show as well.
Here at the City Hall.
Yeah, City Hall, and murals around. And now I do murals. If I do them like that, they're always on those construction hoardings because they don't offend anybody. The earlier one I did on the store, I wouldn't do that again. And this, and this is kind of where, at the end of the streets, I was doing these 10 by 12 foot drawings in about 2.5 to 3 hours, and those are the really busy and most fun times. You get a lot of conversations going on there.
Now, what happens to those? Do those get bought by people?
Sometimes they got bought, and sometimes they got destroyed, and sometimes they got shown in galleries, and I have a few of them. Yeah, and then this is more recently now that you notice tents and traveling.
Yeah.
The shows, not doing the street performance regularly anymore. Now I do it at events like Nuit Blanche and on the road.
Now, where was that arch? It looked like
that was New York. That was Washington Square Park.
Oh, okay.
And that's a fun place to go and paint.
How often do you get down to, or get out of Toronto to other locations like
Only
New York,
once or twice a year now.
Yeah?
Yeah, and then I only do about 1 or 2 big shows outdoors here now, and the rest of the time I'm making animations.
Yeah. What is art? I mean, let's get right down to the basics. Because I feel like asking that question to almost